morning. Welcome. I'm going to turn on the audio. Trying to get this thing figured out here. All right, so I think I'm going. I think things are happening. Cool. Okay, so let me know, as usual, if you can hear me or not. If you're out there watching, first of all, first of all, say good morning if you are out there, or if you're not, then I need to figure out why not. But I want to make sure that you can hear me and see me, and everything is basically working. Hello. Great. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Faith. All right. Hello. Wow, lots of people. I need to turn off my Discord sounds because that's like a lot of people making the little bloop sound. Or actually, I just mute that. Cool. Okay. Yeah, good morning. Great. Good to see you all saying hello, and that I assume you can hear me okay. Of course, you can chat in Discord, and it should appear up here, or you can chat in Twitch, and I'll see it over here. My mic is quiet. Okay, let me see if I can affect that. Well, it's up as high as it goes on here, but you're right. I see what you mean. Like it's actually not picking up a ton. Let me see if I can try to boost it. I am on a new computer, so I've kind of just done a bare minimum to get it set up. So let me see if I can boost this. Okay. Okay, so let's try. Let's see. Is that any better? It doesn't look like it is on the little graph, but I did boost it a lot just now. Does that sound do I sound any different to you if you're listening? It is better? You hear static? Okay. Yeah, interestingly, I can't hear static myself. You know what? I'm going to try something totally different. Not totally different, but somewhat different. I'm going to try something slightly different. So hang on a second. Let me get out of some windows here, and I'm going to mute it, and then I'm going to try to plug it in differently. So hang on. I'll be right back. Okay, how's that? Is that any better or worse? Okay, I think he's back now. Yeah, it's the new software was like I just plugged in a USB sound. It's like a USB sound card basically that is supposed to handle this microphone I'm using. So I think we're good now because I can see the thing and it looks like the normal range of things. In fact, I'm gonna pull the gain back a little bit on it so I don't clip. If I can figure out how to get this in here. So let me pull that back down. Okay, so I think this is more normal. Is this okay? I guess give me feedback on it if you. Actually, let me just take that up a tiny bit more. Sorry. Yeah, thanks for helping me debug this, by the way. I wasn't able to test this. Like, I can't really, like, listen to myself, if that makes sense. Like, I can record myself, but then I can't, like, it's hard to tell that relative to whatever else. Okay, so I think I'm good now. I think you can hear me. Sorry for that little shift there, but I think we're good. So anyway, what's happening is I'm on a brand new computer and I've just sort of barely set it up enough to stream and a couple of the really basic things. So I'm still figuring these things out. It's going to be a Windows Linux dual system, but right now it's just I just installed the Windows side of it, and so trying to work with OBS on Windows is a little different, and like setting up the sound card thing was a little different. So, but I think we're good now, and I think I'm finally ready to go. As you can see, I look pretty much the same, I guess. I mean, I personally look the same, but also like my setup, I've tried to make it look pretty similar. You can see the bird cam over there. I put it in a round window. It's struggling to focus itself right now. I think the camera is because there's a little condensation, and so it's trying to compensate for that. I think its little computer is thinking that it's out of focus because there's like condensation inside the lens, and so it looks blurry. So it's trying to correct that. So I think you'll see it kind of work through that for a little while until the condensation clears off. If that's really distracting, let me know and I can hide it. But it's the same bird cam, so if anything exciting happens, I can switch over to it like that. But I don't know. We'll see how that goes. All right. So I hope you all had a good weekend. I hope you enjoyed sort of the unexpected 3-day weekend. But we're back into things today, and I'm ready to get going with some things. I have a slideshow. I guess I can share it, but it's not really that detailed. It's mainly going to be reminding me of things, and it's going to be like I'm going to be jumping in and out of the slideshow a lot to show you some things in Canvas and other places. So let me just find Discord. There we go. Don't switch. Here's my slides. So did you hear that, by the way? I got a new keyboard. It's like super clicky. I like it, but my wife is like, why did you get that? So it's very, I mean, I can imagine it could be distracting to some other people, but for me, I like the sound. And also it's got a good like bounce back, like it pushes back up. It's I guess it's a mechanical keyboard. I started trying to learn about mechanical keyboards. I don't know if you know about these, but like you can get super nerdy with those. And yeah, it is mechanical. Yeah, so it is mechanical. I don't think it's very like cheap. So it was like an entry level mechanical keyboard. But it has lights, which I didn't want, but like I couldn't find one without lights. So it has all these like, I guess, fancy LED patterns and stuff, which I don't care about. But anyway, it's crazy when you buy a new computer now. It's like everything is like RGB. Everything has LEDs on it for some reason, and I cannot bring myself to care what my computer looks like on the inside because I don't see it on the inside. I use it, so I don't know. But that's kind of the state of the art for things. Okay, so some things to get into. I have added these are reminders mainly for me to talk about too, but also to tell you about. I have added a new homework option in Canvas. I will show you that. I've updated the schedule quite a bit for the next few weeks, and also want to remind you that this Wednesday, so 2 days from now, we will meet in person. Some of us will. This is week 4, so this will be even. Cohorts will meet in person on Wednesday. That said, I may have to be late for section 1, which is you all, because I have an appointment at the DMV, and I had to make this appointment 3.5 months ago. That was the earliest. Like this Wednesday was the earliest appointment I could get in October when I made the appointment. So I had just some paperwork I have to do, but that's at 8:45 it's in Massaponax, so I think I can get it done and get up to campus by 10:10, but we'll see. I mean, I hope, because I have an appointment, that I won't have to wait in line, and I hope I have all the right paperwork, and then I can just get it done quickly. But you never know at the DMV. So anyway, I'll let you know if that's gonna be an issue, but hopefully it won't be. So today's agenda, I do want to talk about the quiz a little bit. I also want to introduce to you the creative project and talk about Combinatoric Poetics, which is the subject of Chapter 2 from Scott Retberg's book. Shannon, I don't know what kind of keys these are. These are keyboard keys. I know that there are different. I just saw Shannon's question on Twitch. Asking what kind of keys these are. I don't know. I know that there are different kinds of mechanical keys, and they have different values, like how springy they are and how loud they are, and I don't know what these are. They're clicky. So let me show you some things in Canvas. So this is the schedule page. I've updated a lot of it, but let me first talk about the quiz. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the quiz statistics, so it won't show anyone's individual scores. Hopefully, if I click on the right thing in it. So let's go here and let's take a look at quiz statistics. And just, I could go question by question, but basically I just wanted to show you this graph, which is what I hoped for, right? So I haven't actually graded the essay questions yet, so those aren't reflected here. So the maximum you can get is that 50% right now. And looks like quite a few of you did get that 50% or very close to it. So I'm pleased with that. That curve off to the left, down here, this concerns me a little bit, but it looks like the majority are kind of leaning this way. Like I said, hopefully I said, I'm not looking for a bell curve here. I'm not looking hoping that the average is like a C. I want everybody I want the average to be an A. Like I want you all to do well on this. So looking through the questions, I think many of you did. So looking at each of the, like Canvas has this thing called discrimination index. It doesn't really matter, but basically if you look at it, it looks like most of you, like for each question, the majority of you got it right. So there were a few of you who missed them here or there, but more so than the overall curve of the grade, this encourages me that most of you seem to be getting the right response for most of these questions. I mean, some of them seemed a little bit trickier than others. I mean, especially the name ones, I would really the names are, names and dates are things that I feel like are in the chapter, are in the notes. Control F to look for them if you need to find what exactly is being referred to there. So I think the information was there. I think most of you got it, but those of you who missed it, I would just remind you to Control F to look through these sources when it's an open book, open note test. So yeah, it looks like overall everyone's pretty good. Obviously, I will need to look at the individual essay scores. I will need to look at them to score them, but I'll do that shortly. Everything else though is looking pretty okay. So I feel pretty good about the quiz. I feel like you all did okay. The next quiz will be probably longer just because it's going to cover two chapters of the book, and I just couldn't figure out the timing to separate them, and you'll see what I mean on the schedule. But we'll do something similar where we'll spend a little time preparing for it, and I'll go over the notes and kind of make sure you're ready. But it'll be similar. Like I would say, mainly keep an eye on names and dates. There will be a lot more examples in chapter 2, so there might be a bit of recognition, like can you recognize which poem this quote comes from, that kind of thing. I'll probably do a bit more of that. So that's just a sort of a heads up, but we'll spend some time hopefully preparing for that. Okay, so the next thing is the creative project. Cool. So the creative project, I have published the assignment page for that, and I do want to take a look at it. It's going to take a bit of time to explain parts of it, I think, but I don't know. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it because I hope that you can explore it on your own. Specifically, the platforms that are available to you down here, I invite you to explore these on your own, but I will give you a brief introduction to each of these shortly, just to kind of show you what they look like and what you can do with them. But first, let me introduce the assignment. So this is meant to be an exploratory assignment. I'm not asking you to create a well-polished, perfect work of electronic literature, but I want you to try to create a work of electronic literature. The purpose of this is to, creativity can be fun, it can be interesting, but the main purpose for the class, the reason I want you to do this in the context of this class is that understanding a particular genre sometimes goes a lot better if you've tried to do it yourself. If you have a sense of what's going on under the hood of a hypertext or a combinatory poem, I think you will appreciate other people's works in that genre a little bit better, and be able to talk about them with more detail and have a more informed opinion about how they came together and the decisions that those authors had to make and the problems they had to solve. You'll understand that better if you've had to make similar decisions or solve similar problems. So again, I want you to be creative, I want you to enjoy this, but there is a bigger goal here, which is to learn how different platforms work and how different genres work. And I think those are two separate questions actually, but that's the idea. It's meant to be short, so as you see here, it's something that somebody can complete in 5 to 10 minutes, and that's not a minimum maximum. That's just a way for me to say something kind of short. I'm not asking for a novel here, not even a short story really. You'll see what I mean within these works. I really just want you to produce something complete, like produce something that works, that actually does whatever you have intended for it to do. That's the basic goal. All right, so you will be creating a work using a platform, and there's a list of platforms down below. You can choose other ones if you want, but start with this list and see if you can find something on the list that works. You'll also submit a short artist statement explaining what you were trying to do, and you'll submit it here in Canvas. These different platforms may have different considerations for how to share those works. What was that piece of dust flying at me? So we'll talk through those once you get to those, but basically you'll submit it here in Canvas, and then there will be some peer review. So I'm going to work within the cohorts essentially, so that you'll be peer reviewing people that you see or meet with in terms of class, and you'll be giving each other feedback on these things, and then you'll have an opportunity to revise your work based on that peer feedback. Okay, so there are many platforms, and I've just got a few here really. In fact, I'm going to move this tab over here so I'm going to open a bunch of tabs and then I can close them afterwards. All right, so I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, really with the intention to just show you what the website looks like and what kinds of things you can do with each of these. And then I invite you to explore these on your own. So you don't need to commit to a platform yet by any means. You've got a lot of time on this. It's due March 8th, so you've got some time. I would really recommend you explore and just try out several of these and see which one feels good or feels interesting. I would not even recommend starting with an idea yet. I would just say see what's here. Okay, so let me show you. So Twine is kind of the classic. Many people will probably want to use Twine. I would just encourage you, if you've used Twine already in some other class or whatever, maybe try a different platform just to see what other options exist. Or if you do want to use Twine, try to do something different with Twine, like using the macros if you've never used the kind of variable tracking stuff. So I want you to push yourself a little bit, in other words. The main bit of advice for this is download Twine. Don't use it online. You can use it online just for demonstration purposes or for quick edits. That's how I would recommend it. But what many people don't realize is when you create a story like I'm doing right now, using it online, it's not saved anywhere except in the browser's cache. So if you clear your cache or you're in incognito mode or something, that's going to go away when you close the browser or when you clear your cache. So you want to have the downloaded version of Twine, which will save your game on your computer as you're working on it. So Twine is hypertext, and this editor actually has a lot in common with the StorySpace hypertext editor, which we will see later on. In fact, the StorySpace, the person who owns the copyright for StorySpace has threatened to sue Twine, or he's implied that he might, but I don't think he will. But anyway, this is what you see is, oh, these buttons look weird. I don't know. This is how it works. So you start typing, and then you can type down here. This is the beginning of the day. Will you choose to get up and start the morning or sleep in? So I'm proposing a choice right here. You can actually, you don't have to make it a choice, but anything that you want to in here can be a link to another passage as you want to do it. And so that I posed it here as a choice because many people think of it in terms of like choose your own adventure kind of games, but you certainly don't have to. You could do more poetic kind of things. So yeah, oh, that's right. Sorry, Shannon is on Twitch. She points out that she took the early version of this class over 10 years ago. That's crazy. So anyway, Shannon works in DLS. You all may know her from the DKC or domain of one's own. if you're a student in the class, that's how you may know Shannon. Anyway, so let me see. I'm going to say get up and start the day is going to be one option, and you notice I'm just putting these square brackets around the text that I want, and I'm clicking it like this. And what's going to happen then, I don't even need to hit save or anything. I can just go like this, and now I've got 2 new passages. So those passages exist as options. If I play the game, I can click one of these and I go to that passage, or I click this one and I go to that passage. So that's hypertext in a nutshell, right? Remember, it's clicking on links. It's a linking structure set up for a narrative. And you can make these have further links, and you can go off and have 2 different versions of the day depending on whether you woke up on time or whether you slept in. So that's Twine. Lots of great tutorials for how to use Twine on YouTube. There's also, the other thing I would recommend is just kind of, and I will assign several of these kinds of things later on. We're going to be looking at hypertext in like 2-ish weeks. But if you want to just understand what people do with Twine, there's been a few examples already shared in the Discoveries channel. You can also just kind of click here whenever you look at the twinery.org webpage. If you just refresh this, you'll get different examples. These will vary in quality. These are not necessarily vetted. I think they're just sort of pulled randomly from IFDB, so you can your mileage will vary, but I think it's interesting to look at just the range of the different kinds of things people make with Twine, and they really vary a lot. So check that out. Okay, what else we got? Okay, Inky. Yeah, Inky. Let me see if this works. I don't even know. Okay, so so this is the scripting language, and it's a little Cody, I guess. I guess you have to download it, and I don't have it downloaded on this, but this is a screenshot of what it looks like when you're using the editor. It is used to create the game called 80 Days, which you might have heard of, or you might have experienced in my games and culture class. This is the way that you write this, and it has basically a similar kind of structure to what I just showed you in Twine, except that this forces that kind of question and then options, like the multiple choice question format. So this is much more close to a classic choose your own adventure book. But there's a syntax, so this is these characters here, the hyphen and the asterisk, indicate the different like options and then nested options. So this is pretty complex the way it looks here, but once you get used to this syntax, it's actually very quick to write it. It's essentially it's kind of like Markdown. Markdown is a kind of fast way to write HTML, and this is kind of like that. It's meant to be very simple, and once you get it, just remember just a few basic things about how to type it, you can go very quickly, and you can very quickly create a pretty extensive game. So check that out. And they've got tutorials and documentation, so it's pretty good. Okay, so Inform 7 and Playfix. Let me see. I don't recommend Inform 7 itself yet, although if you want to, you can certainly try it. Playfix is a good way to do this because Playfix is a web-based implementation of Inform 7. And if I can, is that my login? Is my login working? I hope it's working. I hope Playfix still works. I don't know. I have not logged into this in a while. So. But you can use this to make things like snack time. So you remember snack time, this is the kind of thing that you can make with this. So I don't know why, oh, there we go, finally. All right, so as you can see, I've got tons and tons of like demo games because that's usually what I do is demo this for people. So let me see if I can just edit one that I already have. It seems to be running kind of slow. Okay, great. So this is how you write it, and there's a lot behind this, but it's like anything else. There are some pretty good tutorials that I'd recommend. What's I think weird about Inform, which is the language I'm writing in here, is that it looks just like standard English prose, but it's very like stilted and awkward prose. But you create things by naming and describing them. So here, like if I say comes 001, that's the room that we used to have this class in. So. But let me just make it a different one. HCC 329. Oh, 329 is a room. If you run that, you can hit save and test, and it'll compile this game and run it over here on the right. It's just taking a little time. I think this is the server side that I'm waiting for here. But yeah, there we go. It's the parser-based interactive fiction, so I can type things, and there's a lot of this is just happening automatically, but like the idea that this is a space that my character that I'm playing as is in, that's already true. The fact that I have a character, I can do basic things like look at myself. like that's already kind of built into the world. It's just now you need to actually start defining specific parts of the world, like specific rooms, and you can play with it that way. One of the things I wanted to show you actually that I just noticed is pretty cool. The website seems really slow, but if you look on the home page of this, of not that home page, it's the main home page, not my personal home page. One of the featured games is by a sorry, one of the featured games on Playfix.com, which is not showing up here, is Moon River by Emily Pilot, and she completed that game for this class, I think, or maybe it was Applied Digital Studies. But anyway, she is a former student, that UMW student, and she created this room. It's an interactive fiction version of Breakfast at Tiffany's. So check it out if that's something you're a fan of. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, there you go. Playfix. All right, so I'm going to move on. So I'm going to skip a couple of these. Quest and Squiffy and Choice Script are all kind of similar, kind of choice-based interactive fiction kind of things. Puzzle Script is pretty different, so let me show you Puzzle Script. It is a game engine, basically, but it's an extremely minimal game engine. So if you want to understand it, I think loading an example is probably a good idea. So this is the source code over here on the left, and it's basically just typing, but it's all kind of stilted and it's all kind of ASCII-based graphics, which is kind of cool. But then this is the game that it's actually creating. So you can see my little character. I can move around here. That's defined by this little block of code, and it's these characters that are these numbers identify one of the colors from the sprite setup here. So we could change that if I wanted to give him like a blue kind of eye in the middle of his face, then I could run it like that, and that would change his look around. It takes some practice to get used to it, but it's, I think, pretty interesting, the kind of stuff you can make pretty quickly with it. So, maybe try it out. Okay, so what else? Oh yeah, Stepworks. Stepworks is cool because it's I showed you about the Terra example, Terra, right? It's another open platform that anyone can use to create interesting things. This one right here, actually, a student wrote a story about a depressed and ancient mind. That's a student from this class from 2019, Elizabeth. So that's a YouTube video of it, but you can also try it out here. She did this for her final project, I believe. So she did it initially for the creative project that you all are getting ready to start, but then she did like this expanded version for the final, and I thought it was great. So I shared it with, was it 2017? Maybe it was earlier. I thought it was 2019 that she took this class, but I guess not. Anyway, so but yeah, Eric Laurier, who created this platform, he thought it was great too, so he decided to feature it. But this is how you work. It works. You click it, right? So you just kind of click and you click and click, and then it kind of proceeds. Pretty interesting and pretty anxious story. So it's kind of stressful to read, but I think it's really good. So that's a recommendation. But basically, the idea is then, if you are interested in this, you can look at what it looks like, or how it was created. This is the kind of generated script version of it, and then you can also, I believe, maybe not, but you can, I guess you can't get to it there, but there's a way to do this with, you can do, this is a new one. Oh, this is cool. Nice. So anyway, these can be generated by Google Spreadsheets. So if you liked this particular presentation of it, you could just hit the edit button like I did right here, and then make a copy of this spreadsheet and then edit it, and then it would be able to generate in the Stepworks engine by that kind of clicking interaction. So pretty interesting presentation, pretty interesting format for doing things. But these what he calls stages, these are basically different templates. So like the vocal grid, that's the one that Liz Brantley's game was using, and then I think the Terra one, I think, is using Impact Printer, but with a different style sheet. Okay, so check that out. Wick Editor. This one, this one's going to be a lot to get into. It's very similar to it's intended to be a fully HTML and JavaScript replacement for Flash, and so it has a timeline kind of editor, and this is it down here. A lot of the editing metaphors and modalities here really mimic like Flash version 5-ish, 5 era. So like 2000, 2002, that era of Flash. And so it's really cool that it exists. But it's also a work that is in continual development. And so sometimes it breaks a little bit, but it's pretty neat. And you can do, it's a vector-based animation. So I guess, I don't know if I can, it always takes me a while to kind of get used to what to do with it. But you've got tutorials and things that you can probably figure out how to do. But the idea is you move things around, I guess, and then you can tell things to move. I don't know. I don't have time to demonstrate it. Play around with it. It's fun. All right, so if you want to make a Twitter bot, cheap bots done quick is the best way to do it. And there are many examples here. I have quite a few other examples if you are really interested, and I can say a lot about Twitter bots if you want to know a lot about Twitter bots. In fact, I probably will do a whole lecture on this next week. Then SSBot is a tool I made. Your mileage will vary. It does not work as well as Cheap Bots Done Quick, but it has more options than Cheap Bots Done Quick. The reason it doesn't work as well is that, well, two reasons. First is that the way that Google and Twitter, like it's using a Google code to address Twitter's API, and both Google and Twitter change their APIs without telling anyone ahead of time. I'm pretty sure it does currently work. I put this on GitHub, so a few other people have been working to develop it. I honestly, I don't really feel like developing it anymore. Like I don't really feel like fixing it. So this is a tool that it's not really abandoned fully, but it's like, I don't really plan to keep improving it. It is what it is. Other people have forked it and they've made their own enhancements on it, and that's great. But I think if you were interested in doing a Twitter bot, I would really steer you towards Cheap Bots Done Quick instead of my tool. But mine works. One advantage of mine is that it has a Markov chain generator built into it, which Cheap Bots Done Quick does not. So that's probably the main advantage. Actually, let me show you what this does, because just to kind of show you, there's a lot of setup here, and that's just the handoff between Google and Twitter. But it's a lot to get into. But the basic idea is that you have different generators, which are these tabs down here, and you select a different generator. This is actually a good demonstration of combinatory poetics right here, which is what we're talking about today, where you've got, it's essentially templates. So it picks one thing from this list, one thing from this list, which is only one item long, and then this is, it picks one item from this list, so as it moves, for this generator, as it moves through the columns, it'll pick one item from each column and then combine that into a tweet. And then these are samples generated by that particular generator right now, which is all these different ones, right? So I shouldn't edit this version. This is this is actually the release version, so I should probably not mess with this too much because this is the one linked to from GitHub. But maybe your data is organized a different way. You want to have it choose one from each column as it moves down row by row. The Markov chain is an algorithm that mixes two texts or more texts together. This is if you want to have a tweet just on a schedule, or just one at a time, and then this is scheduled. I didn't add this particular modality, so someone else did, but that's all right. This combines things in different ways. This generates tweets based on someone else's Twitter account, and then this has the log for it. Anyway, it's a pretty, it got to the point where it was a pretty robust tool, but it was kind of getting overburdened with features, so that's one reason. Oh yeah, so Shannon, that's great. Shannon's found her Inform game, so yeah, share it. I guess if you can put it in Playfix, that's the easiest way to share things, because then it just gets published in the Parchment engine. So maybe try that and then send us a link. And you should join our Discord if you want to help out or share stuff, Shannon. That would be fine with me. Okay, so Flick is kind of weird. It's like it's a paint and then point and click kind of thing. So it's like I don't even remember how this works, but how does this work? I'm trying to find some examples. Okay, so if you click on this color, it goes right. So you create a picture, and then it's like if you click on a particular color within the picture, it'll take you to a different particular frame. So okay, yeah, it's kind of odd as a thing, and it's definitely been used in this class for unusual things, and that's fine. Let's see. I don't know how this. Oh, here we go. So I guess if you click on anything green here, it'll go to, ooh, that was neat. Something different. Oh, this is weird. Yeah, this is stressful. I don't like it, but that's that's the kind of thing you can make with Flick, which is pretty neat. But it's very graphical oriented, so very little text. And then finally, telescopic text. This is, let's see. I would like to. All right, so this is an example of what telescopic text looked like. You can edit. There's an editor here, so you can create these too, and it's kind of hard to show you the editor, but. This is what a telescopic text looks like. This is using a concept for hypertext that was described by Ted Nelson and that he called stretch text. But in this website, they call it telescopic text, and you'll see why. So you go, you click on a word, and it basically expands into other words and then other expandable words, and it can keep going and going. There is actually a plugin for Twine that can do something kind of similar if you want to do that way. But this is kind of built up from the ground just to do this. So as you click on it, basically the text gets longer and longer and more elaborate, and sometimes changes. It's a really fascinating tool, actually. So I encourage you all to check it out. Okay, so let's see. How's everybody doing? Okay, good. So if you have any questions about a particular platform, I might be able to help. I don't know if the DKC has tutors for any of these platforms, maybe Twine. At least I think some of the tutors have used Twine before, but otherwise, I really kind of expect you to figure these things out on your own, or ask me for help, or ask each other for help in the tech support channel in our Discord, because that's one of the things that it can be used for. I will refer to this project a few times, but it's something that I hope you can kind of develop on your own to some extent. Because we have other stuff we're talking about. We're talking about combinatorial poetics and then hypertext. So that's going to be kind of the main line of class. This will kind of be going on in the background for the next couple weeks. So yeah, if you have questions, let me know. If you have questions now, go ahead. Basically, I do have the rubric here just to sort of show you what I'm looking for here, which is not like technical expertise or masterful composition, right? I want it to be good and interesting, but like don't stress out too much about like making the perfect thing. I mainly want to see that you try something new. I'm more interested in you taking a risk, and maybe it doesn't go that well, maybe it fails. I'm more interested in that than I am in you doing something that's perfectly polished, right? So take a chance, try something interesting, and see what it goes, see what works for you. Cool. So we'll come back to this project a few more times, but I wanted you to know about it and get a chance to look at some things. Okay, so looking at the schedule, and feel free to pose a question if you have one. I'm going to go on to look at the schedule, but if you have a question about the creative project, go ahead and type it in Discord or Twitch. I noticed we have about 10 minutes left. So here we are today, Monday, February 15th. We're online synchronous, as you can see. I introduced the creative project. I gave you that was the tool parade just now. And I do want to talk a little bit about actual combinatory poetics, but as you can see from the schedule, what comes up next is chapter 2 from Scott Rudberg's book. It is available in Perusall, so you're welcome to use it that way, to look at it that way. I plan to read it on paper first and then go back into Perusall and add some actual notes on it there. But I wanted to tell you also about the new option in homework. So for homework, nothing's due today, but for Wednesday and going forward, we have the standard homework here. As you see, this is the generic homework assignment. And if you look on the general instructions, I've added a new option, which is annotate. So if you want to, you can use Perusall like on a day like Wednesday where we have an assigned text to read. You may want to use Perusall to annotate that text, and you can comment on things that you're interested in, or pose questions about things that you don't understand, or answer other people's questions if they have questions that you have an answer to, or I might pose questions and you can answer those. So we used that before. I say 5 to 10. That seemed like a lot when everyone was doing that, but I think by making this an option, I think 5 to 10 is probably okay. I mean, I feel like that's what I would do if I were reading and annotating this. I would probably have at least 5, maybe, and certainly could easily have over 10 things that I wanted to remember or talk about later and highlight or underline. So I feel like it's a decent number. It's not a minimum or a maximum, it's just a suggestion. But that's what I mean by that. And if you do that, then just on the homework page for any day where you choose to do that, just say, I annotated some things in Perusall, and I will believe you. Okay, so that's that. And then coming up, we're going to be looking at several examples of combinatory poetic texts that are generated, that generate text, and we're going to look at those lots more coming up next week. So we're basically we are going to be spending 2 weeks on this, and I'm going to change this lecture. Actually, I'm going to actually make that about Twitter bots. But that's the schedule coming up. It is fairly accurate, I would say, up until about week 6, which is still tentative, but probably will be very similar to that. As you can see, the creative project is due March 8th, and then March 10th is our what we laughingly refer to as spring break. Okay, so that's the schedule, and that's what's coming up. I do have some slides about actually combinatoric poetics, so I want to get into that and show you some things to think about, just to introduce the idea of combinatoric poetics and what we're actually talking about, so you have some framework, some preparation for what you're going to see in the chapter. It is a day after Valentine's Day, so I thought I would start with the love letter. Darling sweetheart, you are my dear hunger, my devoted enthusiasm. You are my little love, my burning enthusiasm, my tenderness lovingly yearns for your enchantment. Yours breathlessly, MUC. This is a sample of this is a sample output from a love letter generator written by Chris Strachey and Christopher Strachey. It was 1959, I think, if I have to need to double check the timeline, but I believe it was 1959 when he wrote this computer program to generate love letters. MUC is the name of the computer, and so it's like a love letter from the computer to whomever is reading it. I just read you all that, so I guess I don't know, don't read too much into that, but what we see here is a set of phrases that have different options that can be filled in by the computer. It picks random items from the list that it has in its database, and then it puts them together that way. This has been, well, let's see. There's a way we can actually watch it happen. Here, yeah, 1952. All right, sorry, I had that wrong. This is a website that Nick Montfort created that's going to run the code, but it's a ported version of the code. So it runs in JavaScript, and you can see these, darling love, darling moppet, honey sweetheart, jewel sweetheart. It has a number of different salutations that it knows and that it can construct by combining different things. And this idea of choosing something random, combining it with something else random, that's really the essence of combinatoric poetics. It's something that we will see over and over again in different forms, different kinds of choosing. So if we want to think of it in terms of just a poem template, right? I mean, we could do roses are red, and that's a classic. And if you can imagine roses are red, we could probably think of all kinds of other things that would fit into this poetic structure. Roses are, I don't know, give me some words that rhyme with red. Red are. Is there anything else? What else rhymes with red? I'm drawing a blank. Red, dead, red. Ted? I don't know, it doesn't really work. Anything else? Lead? Oh yeah, that works. We could do lead or lead, either way, either spelling. Oh yeah, bed. Right, so we can keep going and we can come up with lots of different of these. Or what we could do is we could go to a place like WordNick. WordNick.com is a database of words, and it has words organized into lists. And so here's a list of words that WordNick thinks rhymes with red. And you can see that some of these are one syllable, so bed, dead, lead. Some of these are longer, thoroughbred. So we might want to make a sub list that only contains one syllable words, but we could see how this is here. And this is going to suggest words that we probably wouldn't have thought of off the top of our head. Shed, ged, is that a word or is that just GED? Oh, it's a fish. Okay, I've learned a new word today. but you see how if we wrote any of these options, we could ask a computer to pick one of these randomly. Right? Most computer languages have a random function of some sort where you can say, here's a list, pick any one of these things at random. Technically, that's pseudo-randomness. It's not real randomness, but that's a philosophical distinction, I think. But it's still practically randomness. We could do the same thing with blue, right? We could choose a number of words that rhyme with blue, and then have it generate different variations on that poem. And that's what my Twitter bot generator can do if you want to run with that. Like that's the example that I set it up with. In this case, it's a list of different colors that it could be. Right, okay, so hopefully you understand what's going on there. I wanted to mention one final thing, because I don't think it comes up in chapter 2, at least from it's got Rubric's book, but I think it's an important background. It may come up, but I didn't see it when I was skimming it this morning. And that's a document or a book called the I Ching, and it is an ancient book that uses combinatory methods to convey wisdom. Whether it's poetic, I think, is maybe debatable, but I think we could view it as poetic, and at least it has the same kind of construction. It's an oracular book. It's about 3,000 years old, and the idea is that you come to the book with a problem, and then you they have a stick-based method for casting lots, but you can also do it with coin flips, and then you generate a reading from the book. Readings are built up of a few elements, so I wanted to explain the elements so you can see what it looks like. Oh, bread, yeah, thanks. I just saw the other rhyme there. It's a series of lines. They are either broken lines or solid lines, yin and yang. These are combined in different ways. They are combined into groups of 3, which are called trigrams, and there are 8 possible combinations of yin and yang. So each combination has a name and represents an image. So this is earth on the left and water on the right. These are just the standard trigrams. There are actually 2 or 3 different ways of interpreting the trigrams and naming them, and it's a whole scheme. There's a really rich history that I'm just very quickly glossing over. It's actually really fascinating. There's several books. I have several books about it. It's pretty cool. But anyway, the 2 trigrams are combined into hexagrams in the course of producing a reading, and then there are not 84. There are 64 possible hexagrams, which is again a combination of 2 trigrams, which is a set of 3 yin or yang symbols. In a typical reading from the I Ching, you have 2 hexagrams. You have one changing into the other, and a significant part of that is which lines change between the 2 hexagrams. That's a significant part of how you read that and interpret that. So if you want to try this out, you can go to ichingonline.net. A lot of information on it, but you can basically have it generate a reading for you based on one of the different terminology, or maybe several of the different methods of interpreting it. So Wilhelm is a well-known one. King Wen is the other one. And so they are explanations of how to understand what you get whenever you roll some dice or flip some coins and you end up with a pair of images like this. It's really 4 images or 2 images and one's changing into the other. And interpreting and explaining that is where you get your wisdom from. It's described as an oracle. It's not really predicting the future. It's meant to help you understand your own situation. So it's not really like a fortune teller, although some people probably refer to it that way or maybe use it that way. It's really, what's interesting about it is you create a situation by asking a question in your mind, and then you produce a set of images, and then you work to try to understand how those images illustrate or relate to your situation, the situation you asked about. And that process of trying to figure out that relationship is where wisdom happens. Right? So it's not really predicting the future, it's not really magic, but it uses these aleatory composition methods to produce something meaningful. I think that meaning is kind of like the meaning of poetry, so I think it is an interesting ancient example of combinatory poetics that obviously is not electronic in its original formation, although there are online versions of it now that are electronic, but certainly 3,000 years ago it was not electronic literature, and yet I wanted to show it because it has some similar compositional strategies. And it illustrates the idea that combinatorics don't really need computers most of the time, but they can go a lot faster with computers. And so that's really what we'll see in many cases. Okay, so ending right on time. That was kind of a very quick introduction to the I Ching, but I just noticed I'm getting some glare on my green screen. I gotta adjust that, I suppose. Sorry about that. I know you don't care, but I care. For Wednesday, take a look at the options for the creative project, all those different platforms. You may find one that you find really interesting and want to ask about it further, or just tell other people about why you like it. That would be cool. Also read Rubric chapter 2. It's a little bit longer than chapter 1, and so just take a look at the whole thing. There will be several examples that we will be looking at together, and I will try to go through and annotate it with links to things that are online if they are. Just to kind of give you that. But this combinatory poetics, a lot of these, especially the early stuff, is going to be print-based. Like it'll be generated and then printed, and so we have some of those to look at as well. So like for Friday and coming up on Friday, and for next week, there's a few things that I've just got here in Canvas. So check that out, and we'll talk about them later this week and next week. So Okay, so that's after 11, so I should wrap it up. But hopefully y'all are doing well. Hopefully, sorry the microphone thing was a little weird to get started there, but I think it seems like it ended up working okay. So thanks for helping me figure that out. All right, I have not seen anything on the, oh, there's something on the bird feeder. I'm gonna switch over. Somebody's there. Yeah, all right. Well, I guess you can still hear me. So thanks everyone. I'll leave the bird feeder cam on for a minute, but I will wrap up the class part of the stream right now, and I will see some of you in person on Wednesday and the rest of you online on Wednesday. But take a look at the homework and let me know if you have questions. Oh, there he goes. All right. Bye, everyone.